Welcome back to my channel, people, where we deep dive into amazing and incredible subjects. Today, we're going to talk about a very, very important subject, which I feel is very important to all Africans. Is why the African diaspora may be or is actually Africa's greatest asset. Yes, I said that. Why is it Africa's greatest asset? If you think about it, the African diaspora may be the greatest untapped resource that Africa has to date, greater than oil, greater than any other kind of resource that you can even imagine. The African diaspora, in my opinion, has been the most untapped opportunity in this world today, and that's sad for the need that has to be done in Africa today, for all the opportunities that this Africa presents. That's really but anyway, let's shoot into the video and let me explain why I say so. Let's get into the numbers. From the UK to the US to every part of the world, and when I mean diaspora Africans, I mean those who are native to Africa who emigrated to those countries, not black people who are indigenous of these other countries. So the African diaspora numbers at about 140 million people. That's the size greater than many African countries. So you can imagine that we have the equivalent of an African country outside of Africa in the developed world. Do you understand? And they remit back to the continent. That's $50 billion annually. 50 billion with a big B. So that's a major opportunity. You know, Africans, we need to begin to start thinking, how do we leverage that funds and that resource into developing all the industries, developing the infrastructure that can last for generations, you know, and do all the major things that this continent needs at this point. Because all that money that's coming back to Africa is coming in way to maybe family, society, and one of many other things that are unique to whoever is sending them to the recipient. But now imagine the diaspora is more strategic, or governments or institutions or businesses are more strategic in leveraging the diaspora to get growth or to achieve growth. If you look today, what makes the diaspora so important? It's not just money. Because if you think about it here, the diaspora Africans have access to networks, education and work experiences, and access to capital, you know, and advanced technology or experience with advanced technology that most Africans do not. Do you understand? So imagine like you're working in a high-tech field somewhere in the US or in the UK. You can leverage that thing if you come back to Africa and do something. But most times, most people in diaspora are so stuck in their ways, so scared to move, and they always listen to the naysayers, or they're more inclined to listen to the bad news because of how the West portrays Africa, and these sometimes fall into the trap. But I'm here to tell you today, man, you need to overlook all that stuff, man. If you're in diaspora, this video is for you, because at the end of the day, you need to figure out how you need to plug into the system and find a way to extract resources, not just for yourself but for the growth of the African continent. So now, with all this being said, what can we look to even begin? Is it just a dream, or is it something that is practical to us? We know that these things have already happened and some people have already achieved success in this field. I mean, if you look at Funke Okpeko of Main One Cable, she was a top executive in Verizon in the United States. She came back to Nigeria at some point, found out that the internet service was very glitchy, and committed herself to build it. She built the Main One fiber optic cable, which is the backbone of all the telecommunications network, at least in Nigeria and across West Africa, from Portugal down to Nigeria. Do you understand? Across all the African countries. So I mean, that this was a lady who was an ordinary executive who came to Africa and leveraged everything she had. I think her education, her network, and ability to access capital, her knowledge of advanced technology to come and solve one of Africa's problems. You know, I think those are key things that the diaspora Africans need to really begin to look into to help solve this problem, because it is clear that the diasporas are Africa's greatest asset. Do you understand? Like, if you think about it, the only example I can give is if you look at other countries, maybe like India, like China. You know, they always leverage their communities from one part of the world to another part of the world to create growth. Do you understand? So I think those are the things, the model Africa needs to now push forward and have a system in place where we can manifest this kind of results as well. Another person you could think of, like if you see another person, Ian Olua Aboyejo, the guy that started Florida Wave and Andela, he too was an African in diaspora. Do you understand? Like came and leveraged all the same things and how to create a solution for the African continent, which led to Flutterwave and Andela, a company that employs thousands of people and has delivered value to the African marketplace. So I think those are things that we also need to look into, and what are the key industries now that I think people in diaspora need to look into. Most times, there's always a lack of information between the relevant industries and the skill sets of people. So I think the work that needs to be done is, I don't know who's going to do it, but we have to find a way to bridge that gap so the opportunities are well presented to the diasporas and the Africans in the diaspora. And one of the key things I think diaspora and Africans in the diaspora need to really look into is agriculture, fintech, renewable energy, infrastructure. Do you understand? Things that can really transform the continent and give them a return in their money. Do you understand? So I think those are opportunities that we all need to find a way to present to the Africans in diaspora, and maybe, God willing, magic can happen. But most importantly, the best way or the practical way I've seen that this thing could work is, first, if you in the diaspora, you work to actively get involved in the startup space in Nigeria, find a way to connect with entrepreneurship seminars, businesses, opportunities, startup hubs, because sometimes entrepreneurs, they have the money but they don't have the knowledge. Do you understand? So you're sharing your knowledge and your experience, maybe even in consulting to local businesses on the continent, can even help create more breakthroughs than the money. So those are things that we need to look into as well, or consulting, or finding a way to constantly come back and collaborate with people on the ground. That's a key thing. I might also lead to important light bulbs in your brain that can now give you opportunities that you may now pursue in the future. And another thing again I want to say about Diaspora Africa, you don't need to be here physically. You have to find a way to influence out your physical presence. You could set up remote teams, you could have strategic relations with entrepreneurs, you could do virtual via Zoom, you could just find a way to plug into the system, because at the end of the day, the clock is ticking and time is of now, because Africa presents a unique opportunity in this world. In the next 20 to 30 years, Africa has the youngest booming population, and this is where the growth of the world is going to occur. And part of the people who are going to power that growth is you, the diaspora, bringing your money back here to Africa to pioneer these industries. Another thing I think we also need to look at is not just from the business perspective. I mean, if you have money lying around, you can also invest in government bonds, diaspora investment programs, things that help raise money into the African continent and also give you a return on your investment, because that's important. You're not wasting your money, you're not throwing your money, your hard-earned foreign currency needs to multiply. You understand? So you need to figure out how you could put those funds into the continent and multiply them. So with all this being said, this is the beginning of a journey. I hope most of you who are watching this video have the time in your mind set apart to find out how could you connect with this thing, because this is a moving train. Africa is on its heel. The rocket engine is beginning to thruster. Forget the bad news. Look at the demographics. Do you understand? Look at the things that are going on. Everything is shaping up for an incredibly growth century for this continent. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Don't forget to join the movement. Peace out.